Hey, what's up, guys? So now that the general public has viewed the surveillance footage of the Austin Metcalf stabbing and the police body cam, the View has finally decided to chime in on this Carmelo Anthony case. And boy, did they get caught lying throughout this entire segment, particularly Sonny Hostin.
This this story has been we've been following this, and so now there's new footage that has been released of the moments after high schooler Karmelo Anthony fatally stabbed Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet in April of 2025. Take a look.
You're not alleged, I did. Okay.
He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me.
He was sentenced to 35 years in prison, which he's appealing. The case has a lot of people divided. Some people believe that race was a factor in the trial because there were no black jurors. They were all the three black jurors that were there were educators, and they were released.
They were struck.
They were struck for that.
Whoa, not so fast. Sorry, guys. Let me just fact check it real quick. So, aside from those three black educators, it was also reported that there were two prospective black jurors, but they said they would have a hard time putting a young brother in jail. And this is the reason why you had the prosecution placing strikes early on these prospective black jurors, because they could not remove themselves from any of their racial biases.
And some folks think, no, he got a fair trial. But is this a jury of his peers?
I don't think so.
I'm sorry, guys, but I gotta pause this again. So, a jury of your peers does not mean Carmelo Anthony is entitled to a juror of the same race. Legally, a jury of your peers means a jury drawn from the same community in the area where the crime occurred. We're talking about ordinary citizens, not people who share the same age, gender, or background. And Sunny Hostin knows this because she was a federal prosecutor, so she knows all this, but she's playing dumb.
And you know, this has been an issue for such a long time in the judicial system where prosecutors use what are called, Batson challenges. And they
Explain what that is.
it's a challenge that is used to strike a juror, generally a juror of color, for a race-neutral reason.
Right.
Because you're supposed to have a jury of your peers, and you're not supposed to just strike someone because they're black. And in this case, they gave the reasoning that they're educators, and this happened, these were high school students, and this happened at a school track meet, so they couldn't be impartial because of that. I don't think that's an appropriate reason.
They might be the best ones, too.
Yeah, I don't think it's an appropriate reason to strike black jurors, especially when it's a young black teenager on trial, and especially when that particular area is made up of 10% of an African-American community. So I don't think he got a jury of his peers. So I think on appeal there is a legitimate thing. A legitimate reason. I also think we have to look at self-defense here because there seems to be two systems of justice at play in this country. And there have been for a very long time. I was part of the system, so I understand that, and I believe that to be true. In this case, this young man, you heard him say, he put his hands on me, and I told him not to. The kid that died, and I have so much empathy for him and his family's loss. That kid was 200 pounds. This kid was 130 pounds. And so, and the other kid was also taller than he is. He was the only black kid under the tent. And the victim here had his twin brother with him, who was also a very large person. If you don't fear for your life, if you weigh 130 pounds, I weigh 130 pounds. Facing somebody that's 200 pounds, I would be terrified of that. So I don't understand why self-defense was rejected by this jury.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, especially the jury representation. That's what stood out to me. And we know there's plenty of evidence that there's sentencing disparity with people of color. The one thing to me, though, is what is the fair sentence when you take a life? And this is what I'm struggling with because this is a tragedy across the board. A 17-year-old is dead. A 17-year-old's going to likely spend 35 years in jail. He could appeal at 17. I'd be curious what you think, because I wrestle with it. If it was, God forbid, anyone in my life, I would think 30 years seems about right. If they said life, I'd say that's too long for a 17-year-old. He could be rehabilitated.
If there was any sort of real justice, Carmelo would have got 99 years.
Look, I think 35 years, if there is no self-defense claim, which is an absolute claim to this crime, absolute defense, I think that would be appropriate. But if you look at other cases, there was the other case where there was a young black kid who was chased by Rick Chow, a store owner, accused of taking water bottles, which he didn't take the 4 water bottles. He chased that young boy 130 yards, which is half of a football field, and shot him in the back, claiming self-defense. And you know where he is right now? He's at home with his family because he was found not guilty.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cases like that.
If that is self-defense, I don't understand why this isn't.
But when the system fails one time, I don't think we should then say, so then the system should fail.
But they're very similar self-defense claims.
Okay, so first off, the Rick Chow trial and the Carmelo Anthony trial have absolutely nothing to do with one another. And just a little tidbit for all the people complaining about the jury pool in the Carmelo Anthony trial. The Rick Chow trial actually had 5 black jurors. So I don't know. They all found him not guilty. But anyways, I want to touch back on what Sonny Hostin said about the self-defense claim, because I keep hearing this nonsense coming from all these black content creators. Let's just take a listen about what actually happened, because multiple witnesses, including a black student who was friends with Carmelo Anthony and was one of the witnesses for the defense, claimed that Carmelo Anthony was the aggressor. They said he refused repeated requests to leave the rival team's tent during rain, used provocative language, and escalated the situation verbally before any physical contact. Okay, so wait a minute. Let's just recap that again. So Carmelo Anthony is invited to the tent by Eddie Parra, and then when he's asked by Hostin Metcalf and his friends to leave the tent repeatedly, he refuses. I've never heard of that before. A black man thinking the rules don't apply to him. And then when asked, he gets confrontational and uses, profanity. And then responds to a shove by stabbing Hostin Metcalf. That is not self-defense in Texas. You cannot respond to a shove by stabbing the person.
I had a question because I was wondering why the self-defense claim didn't work. And I had read that it said you have to use the same amount of force that was brought against you. So if someone pushes you and you push them back, that's self-defense?
That's not the standard, because it's not only use, but attempted use.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
So if you felt your life was in danger and you felt he was going to do more than just push you, and you weigh 130 pounds and you're outweighed by 70 pounds.
So you can use
when I looked at this case, though, which to me is just sad every which way. Right? There's two families that are destroyed. There's Hostin Metcalf lost his life. Carmelo Anthony's going to spend at least 17 years in jail. So this is just tragic. But my question is, how did this get to this point, and where the hell were the adults?
Yeah.
These were two 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean,
what I understand is, it is normal for runners to go under tents.
My kids were runners. You always do that.
And so there was some conversation that he was told to leave, and he was saying,
well, he had been invited under the tent by a friend.
Yes.
He had been invited. One last thing, I know we're playing the music, but Hostin Metcalf's the victim, the deceased. His father went on a podcast, and listen to it for yourself, but he called Carmelo Anthony a racial slur, and he also said that the reason that black people weren't on the jury is because black people are unable to hold bias from the trial because they don't know their own fathers, have a bunch of baby mamas running around living off of government assistance. So that is the thing. That's the thinking of the victim's father.
Was he lying? Honestly, Jeff Metcalf's character arc has taken the craziest turn. A lot of people calling him a cuck early on because he was too forgiving. But since the trial has ended and since the gag order has been lifted, the guy has been so based. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.